Hello everybody, welcome back to the FTOG server, the Quantus pack, ToddytheBody here. And this is the Autocrafting episode. I have made, or should I say, even though I've made an easy Autocrafting with Rftools video, I still get questions on it, so I thought maybe we'd cover again just in case there's something or a tip that I missed that is confusing someone. Maybe I'll cover it here. So let's go ahead. I've got the program already inside. We're going to clear it and then redo it again. But first, let's talk about what we need. Wait. If you watched the last episode and couldn't get the mass storing thing going, the reason for that is because I forgot to mention that you have to set up your network. So if you remember that node back there, the channel was craft. So you want to do net setup craft. Do that. It'll find everything. And that is what you need to do that. So sorry about that. I forgot to mention it last time. Okay, so anyways, for the auto crafting, what you need is you need a processor. Of course, you need a processor for any program you use. This time you'll need the crafting station so that you can pick the items that you want to craft. You'll need a workbench because this will actually craft the items. And you need a programmer to program your items. Once you, to create your program. Once you have your program created, you don't need this anymore, just that one time. You'll need an inventory to hold your programs or crafting cards, I guess we'll say, not programs. Yeah, crafting cards would be the best thing. I think this inventory down here was made to hold the crafting cards, but it's pretty small. If you're setting up auto crafting, you want lots of space. So as far as I know, this is the largest single block in this pack that I know of. It's a large storage crate. It's got 3 different windows. See, that's the second one. That's the third one. So far, we're on the first one here. And that's from Actually Editions. Let's see. Let's take a look at the recipe for that because I've already made it, so we're not going to be making it again. It's tiered, so you'll start out with the small. So that's the small, this little wood casing here, that's what that is. And then once you have the small, then this is how you make the medium, and then this is how you make the large. These are void crystals, you need to empower them. To make the medium, you just need that, and then you need the atomic reconstructor to make those, and the atomic reconstructor recipe is this, just for good measure. Alright, so what else do you need? You need the inventory to hold your crafting cards. You also need an inventory to put your items. You can just use the storage scanner. And remember last time we talked about how this is how you access your storage scanner from the processor. But sometimes it seems a little like the items get jammed up. So I like having the ender chest here. Well, it could be any chest, but I use the ender chest so I can put items inside of it from far away, like this, or if I have a quarry or something like that. But really you just need any sort of inventory that you can place stuff inside for the destination items. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get started. Last time we talked about allocating. So this is what we use to allocate what items we're pulling out of this ender chest and putting into our system. This time we are allocating slots 0 through 11. So each one of these spots, think of the 0 through 8 here as a crafting grid, a 3x3 crafting grid, and then I'll explain what 9, 10, 11 for as we get into this. So let's go ahead and grab this card out of here. There we go. Let's clear this. Let's put that guy inside, and then we'll save it later so that I can prove that I'm doing it right. All right, so we talked about how you need an event to get any program started. The event that we're going to use this time is the event craft. Alright, and what that does is it says it executes program when a crafting station requests a specific item or for an inventory with the crafting cards. That second part, the after the or part, we'll use for other programs. In this case, we're going to use that first part when the crafting station requests a specific item. So that means when you go over here and you click on an item. The reason that the stuff went away is because we have our program here instead of in our processor, so it doesn't know. Okay, so anyways, let's get started. So we look inside here. It's going to ask you what item do you want to craft. We want to leave that blank because we want to craft any item we click on inside the crafting station. It wants to know the inventory for the crafting cards. Well, the inventory is on top of the processor, so we're going to say up. and we are going to leave the node part, the node name blank, because we're not using a node, we're using the processor. Alright, so we've got up right there, and we'll access any side because it's an inventory, chest-like inventory. And then that's it for that one. Okay, so the next part is that you want to set a lock. And we're just gonna, you can name it anything, but we're just gonna name it 1. What the locks do, like say if I'm in here, and of course there's nothing there again, and I want to click, and if I want to craft several different things, or it's a recipe with a complex recipe, and it has like lower tier crafting jobs to do. What happens with the lock is that it will lock the allocated spots so that another program or the same program can't use them while it's already being used. And that's important because if we have something crafting in here, we don't want another recipe going ahead and filling up the spots. We want one recipe at a time to get done. So it's locking it so that only, like I said, only one can get done at a time. Alright, so we locked it. Now what's next? We want to go down here and we want to pick, we want the smart one. Yeah, here it is. No, here it is. Get ingredient smart. Okay, so what this does is it checks to see if all the ingredients are available, and it's going to check our storage scanner. If all the ingredients are available. If so, then it's going to go and get those items and then go on its way with crafting. If not, then it's going to put in a crafting request to craft the lower tier items. Like say if you have a chest and you have no planks, it'll go ahead and say, oh, I've got no planks, so let's craft the planks instead. Okay, so let's go ahead and do that. It is going to ask inventory adjacent to the network blocker. Okay, what inventory are we going to look inside to get the items? We want it to look inside of our storage scanner, and because we have this storage control module inside there, we're going to leave it blank, and then that way it'll search that by default. And then it's going to ask, well, what inventory are the crafting cards? And before we decided that that was up, and then it's going to say, well, what item do you want to craft? We're going to leave it empty because we want it to craft the item that we're requesting. And then it's going to ask, well, what slot inside the processor do you want it to fill? What's the first slot and what's the last slot? I know it says second, but it would be nice if it said first and last. Remember, we're starting at 0, and then we're going to slot 8. All right. And then once again, the reason for that is because when we allocate, we're going from 0 to 8, just like a crafting grid. Okay, let's go back inside here. And then the destination inventory, it's asking us when it does craft a lower tier item, like say the planks for a chest, where do you want to put that once you're done? And we are going to say that we want it to go into this inventory right here. If you leave it blank, it'll throw it inside the storage scanner. Like I said, it gets jammed up on me, so I'm not going to do that. So we're going to throw it inside the ender chest, and then it's going to be pulled out from the program that we talked about in the last episode. Okay, so the ender chest is to the east of the processor, and that is what we are going to pick. So destination inventory to the east. There it is. Awesome. And then that's it for that part. Now we're ready to go. Okay, so this smart get ingredient smart opcode also puts out a number. It'll either put out a 0 or it'll put out a -1. The 0, what that means is that you have all of the items and it's ready to craft. The -1 means that you don't have all of the items, and then you can use that number to do something. So let's go ahead and check. We want to get this number here, or the equal sign here, and we want to see if the last number is equal to -1. And remember, the -1 means that you didn't have all the items. So if it's a -1, we want to unlock so that we can get another craft going on. Remember, because we locked it here. So we want to unlock the 1 lock. And then what we want to do is we want to stop the program because we want to go ahead and start crafting the next thing. Okay, so then that's that part. The number that came out of this opcode will continue on. Okay, yep, I think it went right. We have the false here and the true here. So if it's true -1, it's going to go down this way and stop. If it's not -1, which means that it is 0, it will go on to the next thing. So then that number 0 will go on over here, and then it will, there we go, it will go to here, 0, and if the number coming back is 0, then that means everything is true and we're ready to craft. If it is false, then we need to do something else. So let's go ahead and do the false first. What we want to do is we want to unlock the program because it's coming through this way, so it's still locked. Yeah, it works. We'll show you. And we want to unlock 1. There we go. And then what we want to do is we want to wait a certain amount of time, and we'll go ahead and pick 1 second or 20 ticks. And that's going to give the lower tier parts, like say the plank for a chest, it's going to give it time to actually craft that chest. And then what we want to do is once we have those planks, we want to lock it back up again and then start making those planks. Alright, so here we go. There we are. And then let's get the green dot there so it flows in this order. Alright, so now let's say we have all of our planks. What we want to do, those items are now in the processor because of this opcode here. You can see chest to, or inventory to processor. What we want to do is we want to push all of those items into the workbench, this workbench right here, so that it can actually do the craft. Alright, and then that opcode is going to be push multiple items. Now there is a new opcode that I noticed here. Wait for finished craft or wait for finished craft time. Suspend the craft. No, that's not it. There was something else. Get ingredients. There was one here that I thought was new. Push items into workbench. Yeah, here it is. I think this is supposed to be a opcode that's supposed to make it a little bit easier to do your crafting so that maybe your program here isn't so complex. It's new to me. I'm not really sure how to use it, so I'm going to be doing a program here that I know how to do. Alright, so we want to push those items that are in our processor now in the 0 through 8 slots in the crafting grid light formation into the workbench so that it can craft. So the inventory that we want to push the items into, we want to push it into the workbench, which is on the west side. Okay, so let's do that. It is on the west side. Now, just like the furnace where you put items into the top and you get stuff out of the bottom, that's what this is like also. The crafting grid, you push into the top and then you get the result out of the bottom. The side would be, if you were to pick one of the sides, it would be down here. We don't want that. Okay. So we're pushing the items into the top and into the crafting grid. The slot that we want to occupy first inside of the crafting grid in the workbench is going to be slot 0 through 8, just like it is in our processor. There we are. And then the external slot, let's see, first external slot, it doesn't matter. We want it to go to the 0. Alright, and it says optional, so I'm leaving it blank. So now the next thing, it's crafted. We want to take the item out and put it back into our processor so that we can get it into our crafting station so that we can pick it up. And to do that, we need the fetch item one. Fetch item, where you grab the stuff out of the inventory and back into the processor. So the inventory we're going to pick is west, which is where the workbench is. And then now we want to pull from the downside because that's where you get the results. Alright. And then you want to pull it from, there's only one slot, so I'm going to leave that blank. The item I'm going to leave blank because it's going to be whatever item that we are trying to get. The amount, if you leave it blank, it's going to do a stack at a time. And where in the processor does it want you to put it? Let's go ahead and pick 10. There we go. Wait, do we do 9 yet? I don't remember. Let's go ahead and look. We'll leave that at 10. No. No. Okay, well, since let's just go in order and let's pick slot out 9. There we go. So it's going to grab the item, it's going to put it in slot 9, and now we're ready to go. Or dictionary and routable, we're going to leave blank. So now the item is in slot 9. There are recipes that use like say a bucket. Here, let's just go ahead and pull one up. I'm pretty sure that you can think of one yourself, but let's spell bucket right. But let's go ahead and look at one. So like say if we have a water bucket. Here's a recipe that uses the water bucket. Once you craft the item, you know that it leaves the bucket behind empty. What will happen if we don't add this next part is that the bucket will be left inside here and it'll mess up any future crafts. So what we want to do is we want to clear this before we move on to the next crafting recipe, or the next recipe we want to craft, or the next item we want to craft. And how we do that, now that the item is in the processor, what we want to do is we want to check the workbench to see if it has any more items in it, like a bucket. And so now that crafting grid is going to be on the west side in our workbench, and we're going to check the up because that's where the grid is, remember? Alright, and then it's going to check the number. It's going to tell us what the number is. If that number is 0, it's going to do one thing, and if it is not 0, then that means there are items in there and it's going to do another. So let's go ahead and hit a negative sign over here, or a false sign, and a positive sign. Let's say it's empty. Then in that case, we want to go ahead and unlock our lock that we have over here, this one and this one. And remember that lock is called 1. There we are. And then we want to tell everybody that the craft is ready and it's going to go into the crafting station, the crafting station over here. If you remember over on this side, the slot out, this is where the item went to, or the result. So it's asking you here where to find that result, to pick it from the processor and then put it into the crafting station, and we picked 9 for that. Now I made a mistake over here. We don't want to stop the program because it won't go on to all of this stuff, and that's why I was kind of stuttering when I was doing this, because it didn't feel right. And the reason it didn't feel right is because we want this one instead, mark craft failure. What that's going to say is that, oh, we didn't have everything we need, so stop that craft and move on to the next thing. Or if you don't have all the items to complete it anyways, it's going to tell you inside here, like on this side, it'll say failure. It won't tell you why, but you can pretty much assume it's because you don't have all the ingredients. Okay, so now let's deal with this. Let's say that there's still a bucket inside there. What do we do? So we want to grab the items. Where is that? Oh, it's down here in the green. We want to grab the items from the inventory and put it into our processor. And the inventory that we want to grab from is on the west, which is the workbench. And we want to pick from the top, which is where the crafting grid is. We want to grab those items, and we want to pick it from any slot that we find an item. And the item is going to be any, because it could be buckets, it could be bowls, I guess. And then we want to pick any amount, or actually a stack. And then it's going to ask us, well, what slot in the processor do you want to put it? Well, 9 is already being taken for our end result crafting recipe, so we're going to pick 10. Alright, so here we are, or dictionary routable, we're leaving blank. So now that item is in the processor in slot 10, we want to put that into our ender chest so that it goes back into our system. So we are going to pick the opcode of push items from the processor to the inventory. Alright, so what slot in the inventory? Oh, let's go to the top. Alright, what inventory do we want to push this item to? We want to push it to the east, which is that ender chest. There we go, and it doesn't matter what side we push it into. We want to push it to any slot, it doesn't matter, any amount or stack. And then slot in, what slot in the processor are we going to find this item that we want to push? And we picked 10. There we are. Okay, so then what it's going to do after that is it's going to, and make sure and hit that thing. What it's going to do is after it picks an item, it's going to check to see if the crafting grid is empty, because maybe there's a thing you're crafting that takes 2 buckets of water. And so you'll have 2 buckets in there. So it'll pick 1 bucket and it'll go around and see, oh, there's still another bucket in there. And then it'll go around and it will grab that bucket. And once the crafting grid is empty, it'll go ahead and finish. Now, what I am lost on is, why did I have that 11th spot allocated? Go inside here. Yeah, 11th spot. So I'm pretty sure that this is not correct, because I don't know what the 11th spot is. So what we're going to do is maybe the destination inventory. No, that's not right. Yep. I'm a little lost on what that 11th spot would be. Maybe it's the external slot? First external slot? No. Let's go to where we push the items and then we'll get a description. No, it doesn't give us a description. Okay, well. Yep, I don't know. So maybe it'll work, maybe it won't. I'm not sure what that button is for. So let's go ahead and save it. So whatever program I had in there before is no longer there, and we're working with the one that we just did together. And then we want to see if we can craft something. What do we want to craft? This item here is tiered, right? So let's see if we can go ahead and make that. And it does that part, and then it's going pretty slow. So, yep, I think something is stuck. So let's go ahead and take a look. No. All of that is in there. Yeah, there's something that I'm missing. Oh wow, it's making it over and over and over again. Okay, let's stop that and then go ahead and troubleshoot. Stop. There we go. Missing crafting recipe. Let's go ahead and reset this. There we go, and then clear that out. There we go. Alright, so let's figure this out. How many of those items did we just make? What is this called? A coil? This is called a coil. How many coils do we now have? Coil. We don't have any coil. Didn't actually make it. Where are these items then? I'm not sure. Alright, so let me take a moment to figure out where it was so that you're not watching me just kind of ho-hum here. And then I'll come back to you. I'll figure out what that 11th thing was. Well, I'm not really sure, so let's go ahead and look. I'm not sure what the 11th slot was. What I did find out what the problem with the crafting is that we left this blank because I didn't think that it mattered. I thought it would just take the items and put them in the order over here that you had them in the processor over here, but I guess that's not the case. If you don't define what the first external slot is, it'll just put the items anywhere. So in this opcode, you want to make sure that your external slot, the first slot, is 0. So we'll save that. Everything else is the same. We'll throw that in. I went ahead and put in a crafting recipe for this guy here, the water stone, which is a bucket and some stone, just so you can see that it'll clear the inventory. Yeah, let's go ahead and throw the water buckets in, and then we'll craft up 16 of those. There we go. 1 time and 2 times. Alright, there we are. So now we have 32 of them all together from when I was testing it before. But there's the crafting recipe. Let's go ahead and see if we can get this one to work like we tried to do. And there it is. We don't have any other coils in our inventory, so you can see that it's actually doing, well, we have the gold ones, but we don't have any of the basic ones. So you can see that it's actually working. See? There we go. But yeah, I'm still curious what that 11th slot is, and I'm pretty sure one day I'll try to craft something, and then I'll figure it out what it was. But as far as I can tell, I think it's all good to go. So there you are, guys. Sorry about that hiccup. And that is the auto crafting recipe, or auto crafting episode for you. So you all have a great day, and I'll see you later. Bye.